AskReddit by Chocobook. People always talk about the golden era of this, the golden era of that. In what golden era are we right now? The third golden age of astronomy. Space-based telescopes that are in operation and planned are amazing, and the planned ground-based telescopes are super powerful. Discovering new exoplanets, and potentially exomoons in the near future. Distant objects that we could have never have seen before. It truly is a new golden age. The web is a game changer. Board games. And it has been for about a decade. Really saw an influx of new players when COVID lockdown ended. Board games were already rising, and COVID locked down everyone, which gave people time to get into the hobby even with supply chain and shipping problems. Board games are in a pretty great place. I do feel like that's waning a bit now. The space is a bit overfilled now and the gems are harder to find. I would say glass. We can create massive sheets of essentially perfect glass and cover our buildings with them, sometimes even able to stop bullets. We can put it on a phone or watch and have them be durable and survive drops. We can stretch it into thin fibers and send light signals around the world to transmit information. Neat. Everyone commenting negative stuff kinda missing the point of how golden era is normally used. For me, we're in a golden age of accessibility to music making. The quality of cheap instruments is at an all-time high, tons of options for free DAWs and plugins, and with the internet being a platform to share and collaborate, I feel like there's never been a better, easier time producing high-quality music. The other edge of that sword is oversaturation, making it harder to make it, but I don't feel that's a bad thing as music increasingly becomes a more personal thing than a wider cultural thing and music tastes become more niche. I think this applies to other creative fields as well. Golden age for indie productions all around. We're getting fantastic music, games, art, movies, animation, books, all bypassing the normal channels of production and publication and getting access to more widespread distribution than an indie production was capable of before. Music streaming, at least for the consumer. You can buy one subscription and stream pretty much anything, unlike television and movies, which are increasingly segmented across services popping up all the time. It may not stay this way as most artists are getting paid peanuts. I'm an EDM DJ and laugh my ass off anytime a fellow DJ brings up vinyl or how things were better back in the day. Like, bro, you can name the most unheard of, rare, undiscovered song in existence and I can find it in 1 second using Google and then transfer it to the USB and play it halfway across the country the same night. WTF? Access to knowledge. Yes, there's a lot of misinformation and stuff to sift through, but if you're dedicated and a critical thinker, you can get an advanced degree level of knowledge for free on virtually any topic. I've learned more in the last few years by reading, watching YouTube, and listening to podcasts than I did in my PhD program. And on a greater variety of topics: music, history, thermodynamics, calculus, quantum mechanics, literature, etc. And I don't even have that much time to devote to it. I only hope it will continue to be like this when I retire, because that's what I plan to do. Certainly is a great time to learn things. However, the negative side of it is due to the speed that people consume their social media, and most people will digest their misinformation in 30 seconds intervals and then repeat it as gospel. Automobile tires. Really, when was the last time you had a flat tire? In the 60s, 70s, 80s it was just expected. Largest contributor of microplastics globally. Though some would disagree, surely, we're in a golden age of horror films. Not only do we have more access to the classics now than ever before, but new films come out with regularity that are perfectly watchable and enjoyable. There's also lots of content creators making horror content on YouTube BTC to help surface films and find interesting things. If you transported a horror film from 1985 to today and showed them nothing but the horror scene, they would surely be very impressed. As a horror fan who was alive in 1985, I would agree. Board game design with better and better games coming out with fresh new mechanics. Medical advances CRISPR, leaps in vaccine production, public interest knowledge and medicine, yes, overall an average increase, advances in cancer treatment, MS treatment, surgical procedures, etc. Economic uplifts. More people in the world now die of diseases caused by overeating than malnourishment. Jokes and such aside, this is a monumental human achievement. More people than ever have access to indoor plumbing, global communications, etc. Can you name some of your favorite board games? The only ones I know of are Catan, Ticket to Ride, Pandemic, and Axis and Amp, Allies. Craft beers. If you are a beer drinker, you probably don't have to go far to get some good craft beer. Conversely, there's quite a few crappy ones. And the very notion of craft is getting stretched quite a bit. I'd argue we've left the golden era, but that doesn't mean these times still aren't great. Games that aren't considered AAA, Pal World, Helldiver 2, Ballatress, Last Epoch, Unicorn Overlord, etc. I would argue it's more a renaissance. For years we experienced a similar game slump due to overpredatory business practices, similar to ET back in the early days, but the industry is starting to learn and grow from those dark ages and figure out what works and what doesn't. Wait another 10 years for the lessons learned to be forgotten again though. Golden area of gummy candies. There are like 6 flavors of Sour Patch Kids with various sour ranges and flavors. Skittles, Nerds, Jolly Rangers, and every fruity thing has not one but several types of gummy candies. Hard shell, soft shell, ropes, classed as anything you could possibly imagine, there is a gummy candy that fits that urge. I don't like Nerds, but I think Nerds gummies are a gift from the gods. Golden era of scams. My god, I feel so on guard now. Growing up, someone would call and I'd answer for my parents just to see who it is. Now, half the phone calls I get are spam. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. Best line in the office. I'm sure it existed before then, but that's where I know it from. Believe it or not, world peace and global stability. We will look back on these years as the end of an era. Might be at the tail end of that era though. Golden age for conspiracy theories. People were ignorant and gullible in the past, but social media has made the conspiracy theories infinitely more accessible. Deleted. Mental illness. Deleted. Misinformation. With social media and regular media, deepfakes, and just good old-fashioned propaganda, it's hard to know what the hell is actually going on anywhere. In a decade we won't know what's real anymore. The post-truth era is already upon us. Television. Whereas movies are heavily relying on existing IP, television is uniquely original right now with lots of money being poured into development. It's going to change now that streaming is being repackaged to just be the old cable model, but when streaming threatened network TV has opened up a huge shift in how television was made, and it's wonderful. What I was going to say. Now that most movies have become all about the big blockbuster for the most part, the place to find long-form drama is television. The kinds of programming we have now is a far cry from TV's first golden age during the 1950s. Plus, for the longest time A-list acting and directing talent wouldn't be caught dead doing TV. It was a sign that your career was dying dead. Not anymore. Martin Scorsese is doing films for Netflix. As just one example. Honestly, we are in some kind of a golden era for propaganda and gaslighting. No joke, just look around. We're at the tail end of the golden era of boutique guitars and guitar gear, amps, pedals, etc. New prices are so high, and used gear is going for less than or about equal to 50% of the new price. I doubt it will survive much longer. Reposts on our AskReddit. Great point. But what would you tell yourself 10 years ago if you had $1 billion during sex? Women's sports. When I was born, it was insignificant. Almost no serious equipment, coaches, or pro contracts. Catherine Switzer got assaulted for running a marathon. Now, it's exploded into a whole industry. Vast choices of equipment, modern facilities, pro coaching. Women's competition selling out. Finally achieved 50-50 male-female Olympic participation this year. Huge social improvement. Beginning of a golden era for quantum computing. I saw the first video of such a machine in 2016. It was rudimentary and quite unstable, but now we have better, more stable quantum computers. Now we are in a golden era of data storage with many options to choose from, like 100 terabyte hard drives, cheap SSDs, a tower of LTO tapes holding petabytes of data, and micro SD cards holding a terabyte of storage. People in my school are flaunting them in their switches, but I have the last laugh because they have no way to use them up fully without spending so much money on games to fill it up to the brim. Stupid people voting their rights away.